Whiskey for the Ages is not sponsored or endorsed for any product or program mentioned in this show and receive no remuneration from their creators.
Guys, and welcome to a brand new episode of Whiskey for the Ages. Tonight, I am actually your host, Elora, and Hannah's to my left.
Big thank you to those of you who are tuning in for the very first time to this very first type of episode.
And then Dad is on my right.
Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining our show. Consider subscribing if you already haven't. That way you can get the first notice of when we release new podcasts.
Indeed, yeah. So tonight, for the first time in all of our seasons, I'm the one taking the lead. So it's quite a special episode, I think. Lots in store.
It is. We're very, very excited for this. Was something that we talked about on how we were going to make season 4 different. And this is step 1. We're really excited about this.
It's going to be different than we've ever done before. We're going off script, if you will.
We're just going to have a conversation. It's going to be a lot of fun. And this episode's feature is actually going to be food pairings. Now, I have taken the time to make a couple of foods that we're going to be pairing with a rye and a bourbon. The first food is an Italian tomato herb bread.
And just so you know, it's going to be bread for both of these foods. We're tasting food with our whiskey.
We thought it would be a good idea to start here. Bread, obviously, made up of grain, which is the main component for all whiskeys. So we thought this would be a good way to start this food pairing adventure type of episode. And Elora very graciously baked these. I'm sure you can go find some wonderful foods in a bakery as well if you wanted to follow along, or if you wanted to just grab one of your favorite bourbons, ryes, scotches, whatever, with a bit of a snack, and we can all sit down and talk about this together.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I personally love eating food with bourbon, and like Hannah said, we wanted to focus on kind of like a control group, if you will, like bread. So the first bread, like I said, is an Italian tomato herb bread. Now, I think I tried this, I want to say a couple of years ago, maybe only a year ago. I can't really remember, but essentially it's a bread that I made with tomato sauce. It was the first time I'd ever decided, like, I really want an Italian bread, but I want it to have, like, a different kind of color, kind of coordination. The first time I made it, it's basically like a white bread that has, like, rosemary, thyme, red pepper flakes. Yeah,
and there's pieces of sausage that are in here. This particular episode, or this particular loaf, you made a little bit unique to other tomato breads in the past. Yeah. Because you've got a swirl of what's the other bread?
I also made cracked wheat. I find that.
So what do you mean by cracked wheat? Explain that to the listener out there. What is a cracked wheat loaf?
How I define a cracked wheat loaf is it's very, very similar to white bread, in that you have your flour, your salt, your yeast, and your water. With cracked wheat, I like to sweeten it a little bit. I'll put some honey in it so that the yeast can eat that up a bit quickly. Another thing that makes cracked wheat is essentially you have wheat berries, and then you basically have little wheat nuggets. You'll see those called wheat nuggets in the grocery stores, and essentially I kind of compare it to breadcrumbs, so it's kind of like a recyclable sort of bread, if you will. You'll see it a lot in grocery stores. That's one of my favorite go-to breads. I find white bread to be a little bit boring, and I don't know. I like the grain, so.
And you get it kind of in the bulk section of the grocery store, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So don't go looking next to your flours and your cane sugars in the aisle. Go find the bulk area and pick some up there.
So obviously, listeners, you guys can't taste what we're tasting for the bread. Suffice it to say, it's good bread. Okay? We love the bread that Elora makes. We are so fortunate that she makes bread for us so that we can do this.
It's therapeutic. I mean, you could say that I was one of the people in COVID who started making bread.
But this particular bread, the tomato does really come forward really nicely. So if you just wanted to think of it as a very deep spaghetti and meatball dish, that's kind of how I think I would frame it as far as taste goes. I haven't had any with the sip yet.
Yeah, I mean,
I have.
Well, what are we sipping with it though? We have something picked out for this.
Indeed, yes. So the first one that we are doing is the Knob Creek 12-year bourbon. So it's a Kentucky straight bourbon. It comes from Claremont, Kentucky. It comes from the distillery of Knob Creek. Has a mash bill of 75% corn, 13% rye, and 12% malted barley. It's a number 4 barrel char. Entry proof is 125, so it is up there. It's about, maybe 60...
Well, this is the barrel entry
Yep,
proof.
that's what it goes in, and that's pretty common for the Jim Beam products.
And then it's aged 12 years and has... Okay, so it's a little bit of a lower proof. It is at 100 proof, so 50% alcohol. Still pretty up there. We purchased it at around $60.
It's a heck of a good deal here in Idaho. I know that some of you may struggle to find it at $60, but that's what we paid here this past winter.
Now, without further ado...
Well, let's just talk about this one a little bit. Anna, you've taken a taste of the bread. Have you taken a sip yet?
I have officially taken a sip. It wakes the tomato up. I have to go for another sip.
I find it does too. When you say wakes it up, it brings out the savory. I mean, this bourbon really works well with this bread.
Yeah.
I'm going in right now. I've got a little chunk of sausage I'm going to try with this bread, and I'm looking forward to the bite. Hannah?
There's a little bit of pepper that becomes enunciated in the bourbon though too. So you get to have a pull that comes from the food, and then you're highlighting other notes in the bourbon itself. The pepper comes alive there too, which is something that is already pretty standard and easy to find in a Jim Beam product. But wow, it really blooms in a whole new way when you're pairing it with this.
And it makes the chili flakes that you've added to the bread pop as well.
Yes.
I mean, the two pair so well together.
Honestly, when I was making the bread for this podcast, I originally was just going to go for an Italian loaf. Or wasn't going to do any of the tomato sauce or tomato paste. Tomato paste kind of helps with the color and just gives that extra tomato flavor. I was a little wary of it because, as I've said in previous podcast episodes, bourbon, whiskeys, they're really, really strong. So I don't like to mix them with really other strong flavors. Like, it's very, very rare when I will drink a cocktail with whiskey in it because whiskey is going to dominate, in my opinion, every other flavor that is in that cocktail.
But this really works.
This does work. I'm very surprised because nothing's overwhelming the other.
No, the Knob Creek stands up to it.
The bread's savory. I mean, every so often you get a chunk of fennel from the sausage. And the fennel just accentuates the sweet of the bourbon. I mean, you talk about pairing. Wow, I would have never thought, but this is good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Elora, what do you think of your match?
I really, really like it. I love this match. Knob Creek, you know, I don't usually recognize bourbons or whiskeys off the top of my head. Like, you could do the whole quiz thing that they do for, like, the advent calendar. I'd fail every time. I know it. But honestly, I just like choosing a random bourbon without much thought really at all, except what is the proof of it. And I will go for that one. So I essentially let Hannah and Dad choose the bourbon. And I'm very, very happy that it was Knob Creek. I wonder how other bourbons would test to this.
Well, that's what I was going to ask next. Like, if we didn't have Knob Creek 12, and yeah, we have a lot of other options in the bunker, but if we weren't having this with Knob Creek 12, what could substitute?
I would say any bourbon that's sweet, because the bread is so savory that it becomes a foundation or a post, if you will, that we work around this post, or we work around the bread. And I've always said, salt accentuates sweet.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet brings out the savory.
Yes.
And that's exactly what's happening here.
But
what a pairing.
yeah, I mean, I think that, yes, tomato has acidity to it. So again, listeners out there, you can do this test of your own with either a tomato bread or a spaghetti and meatballs dish, something like that. I think that, yes, the tomato has acidity, but it is also a fruit and has a hint of its own kind of sweetness to it as well. So I think that if you're going to have a bourbon with this, yes, the bourbon needs to be sweet, but I think that the dominant profile of the bourbon needs to be something either peppery or woodsy.
Yeah.
So the Knob Creek works really well. I think any Jim Beam product here would really go well with this. I am very curious to see how a Booker's would taste with this. I think that would be...
Booker's would work really well.
That would have been an absolute beautiful pairing, but I think you'd do really well with a Jim Beam bonded, just your straightforward one, just fine as well. I think Heaven Hill products would probably go really well with this because they do have a peppery element to them too.
But they also have more of a fruit forward, which I think fruit would play into, if you will, the wine aspect, the tannin aspect of it. I'm not so sure about
I don't think I'd grab
a buffalo tree. No, they're almost too sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing, Dad, you mentioned fennel coming from the sausages. It wasn't until you said that I actually got fennel from sausages. And fennel to me is sweet. I mean, I can stick my nose in it and it's pretty sweet. I'll use it in my rye bread and it brings a kind of anise seed element to it.
Exactly. I was just going to say, for those of you who haven't had fennel, it's an anise type or
licoricey.
A licoricey type component to it. Yeah. What a pairing. What a pairing.
I'm very, very happy. I'm very happy with this.
I'm really interested in seeing what this next one's going to be.
Yes. Yeah.
So, Elora, tell us about your next bread.
So
we've been suffering all day long with this bread.
Oh, please. At least, I'm the one who had to make it. I had to concoct this monster.
Well, tell the people.
I don't even know what to call it, essentially. Hannah says it's cinnamon twists. Essentially, what I wanted to do was I wanted to make a sweet dough. I have never made a sweet dough in my life. All the breads I've made are basically have been savory. So originally this sweet dough was supposed to have started as a kind of white bread with a cinnamon swirl in it, kind of like a cinnamon roll. But the proving got wrong. So when you prove bread, I usually have to wait about an hour on its first proof. That allows the dough to double in size. That allows the gluten to do its thing. And help the yeast actually be able to really eat all those sugars and be able to grow in size. That's what happens whenever bread is on its first proof and its second proof, if the bread requires that second proof.
Now, if you don't know what a proof is, it's essentially when you've created your dough, you've formed it into a nice ball, a nice shape, and then you set it off to the side and walk away.
Yep.
That's proving the
That's
dough.
why I love making bread so much, is because I can spend maybe 20 minutes on it and then I can walk away and then do other things. It's really college student friendly, honestly, because I've got to practice, I got homework. It's, a great baking tool. When I said that this bread didn't really rise, it was so dense compared to when I made the tomato herb bread, because with the tomato herb bread, I could see the size of the dough being doubled, after an hour. This, I waited an hour for it, and it barely rose, so I was pretty wary about it. I was thinking
So your dough ball was pretty much the same size as you started with.
Pretty much. It might have grown maybe 20%. It definitely not doubled in size at all. But I proceeded anyways, because, we had this podcast we had to do. There wasn't much choice.
But you kind of changed gears away from it being a loaf.
Yeah. Essentially, I'd watched a bunch of YouTube videos, and one idea that I had in mind was making a kind of babka style. Babka is essentially striped braided loaf. A lot of people will incorporate chocolate with white bread, or they'll incorporate cinnamon with bread. I wanted to go the cinnamon route because that's what I wanted to do.
You really love cinnamon.
I do.
You're a cinnamon nut.
Yeah, I'll stick cinnamon in my hot chocolate any day. I'll stick cinnamon into any kind of chocolate that I really make. So I just think that it offers a kind of richness that goes really, really well.
What are we drinking with this?
Well, hold on. I want to talk about the food because because we actually, like Elora mentioned, this is the first time she's ever made this for us. We were delighted guinea pigs in this venture. This is the first time we've really been able to sit down and have the cinnamon twist, which, go get a cinnamon roll. That's your comparable moment here.
Yep.
I love the crust on this.
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
There's no icing on this, by the way.
No,
This is just straight bread. We're not having butter with our bread. This is just bread and whiskey.
It tears really nice. The cinnamon brown sugar coating on it gives the crust a nice chew. It's a really, really good bread. But what are we drinking with this?
So, I kind of wanted to change gears, kind of give us a comparable sort of thing, or at least a contrasting thing to what we have in store. So we chose a rye, essentially. The rye that we are drinking is High West, a Midwinter's Night Dram, Act 12, Scene 6. It is a blend of straight rye whiskeys that have been finished in port and French oak barrels. We're very, very fond of when things are finished in port barrels. It comes from Winship, Utah, and it's from the High West Distillery. Has a mash bill of 95% rye, 5% barley malt from MGP Ingredients Incorporated. It consists of 80% rye, 20% malted rye from High West
So there's
Distillery.
actually two different mixes here in the mash bill.
Those are the two blends of the rye.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah.
Some of it's coming from High West, some of it's coming from MGP.
Yes.
But the ratio of each,
they're pretty different.
top secret.
Yeah,
We
they're
don't
not.
know.
They're not disclosing what the mix is.
Yep.
Yeah. So, as we said, they're aged in port and French oak barrels. They're aged in new charred white American oak and finished in French oak port barrels.
Yep.
We don't know the age of it. And the ABV is 49.3%, which is basically 98.6.
Body temperature.
Yeah.
Body temperature.
Yeah, 98.6 proof, yeah.
Not that far off from the 100 proof that we had with the Knob Creek 12.
Yep. So,
But what about the price? That one
that
stings a little, admittedly.
It does. It's just short of $150 that we paid.
But this is a Christmas gift, so we can pay a little bit more for a Christmas gift.
It was actually Hannah's, yeah. So, now let's see how the rye compares to this kind of bread. What do we think?
We have a mouthful. This bread is sweet, and it should be. We saw it being made. It was a mixture of butter and sugar and brown sugar and cinnamon, all kind of laid out on a flat piece of dough. Elora rolled it up and then essentially made a knot out of it somehow.
Yeah, so what I did was, this kind of hints back to like what the babka is. I rolled out like little
logs.
Essentially I rolled 4 balls out into like tortilla size, like medium tortilla size discs, and then put some filling on it, which consisted of brown sugar, normal white sugar, and butter and cinnamon. I just mixed all that up, and I laid it on like I would for a cinnamon roll.
Kind of like a paste.
Yeah, it was a paste. And I just spread that around with my fingers and essentially covered the entire disc of dough as much as I could. And then I rolled it up, like Hannah said, into a log. And then this is where I didn't know if it was going to work out. So essentially, I cut it in half hot dog style so that I would see the stripes of like you have your dough and then you have your filling, dough, filling, dough, filling, dough, filling. And then I flipped them up to where those stripes were visible, pinched both ends, or actually I pinched one end of these 2 strips of dough and mix, and then essentially wrapped them over together. I spiraled them up, and then pinched the other end together, and then basically kind of pinched all of it together to make a knot. Looked really, really pretty. And it wasn't, I want to say they were about the size of a baseball, maybe slightly smaller. And I was just worried about what it was going to do on the second proving, because on the second proof, that's basically when you have shaped the dough to whatever tin or whatever shape you want it to be in, and you just leave it alone for an hour. Or depending on your recipe, it could be 45 minutes, it could be an hour and 20 minutes, who knows. This one I rested only for an hour, and it kind of rose, like it was starting to fill our cake tin, but not really. I said to hell with it, we got a podcast that we have to do, so we're just going to stick that into the oven. And
it grew.
It grew.
It grew.
It grew exponentially. And
each twist ultimately looks the size of about a softball.
Yeah. So it basically doubled how I wanted it to
in the oven. Now with the rye, it's absolutely delicious. I think having a rye that does have that special finish with the port barrels was a nice move with this one. For whatever reason,
I can taste the port.
Yeah, the port is coming in. There's also a citrusy element that's somehow there that's coming out in both the port and the bread itself, which I really like.
And you hit on it earlier, Hannah. You said the crust on this with the whiskey, with the rye. Wow.
Yeah, it gets it's like candy. It really is like candy. But the rye keeps it fresh. Like the rye, because it's a rye and is inherently fresh, it really brightens up the bread itself, prevents the bread from feeling too sweet and too overwhelming.
It counters the sweet.
It counters the sweet really nice while still giving it a nice little playground to work with, which I really, really love. Elora, what about you? How do you like how this works?
I would agree, like 110%. Hannah, you said citrus. I'm getting blood orange for some reason. It's weird. But essentially, you know, we've talked about the crust. How the crust was organized was probably more brown sugar than anything. I'd honestly just tossed it into the oven. I covered the whole thing with foil so that the brown sugar wouldn't burn, because that is a thing. You can make caramel and it can all of a sudden turn into toffee. I didn't want that to happen. And partway through the bake, I took off the foil to give it that crust. So that crust is basically caramelized sugar.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, I love it.
This is
I
a
really,
great
really love
match. I mean, as savory as the tomato bread was, this is sweet.
Yeah, these are very, very different.
The savory bread made the bourbon sing.
Yeah.
And I
Here,
also want
the sweet is the sweet bread is making this rye
Talk.
it's
really complimentary.
It's really bringing out the flavors.
And we've talked a little bit about the crust. I also really like the actual dough of this itself. Like, it's not too sweet, but you can still get that
It's not
sweetness.
tight either.
No, I was honestly surprised. It was so dense when I was making it, so I'm happy it turned out well. This is actually my first time trying a sweet dough, and I'm pretty happy with it. So now
Elora has a curveball.
I'm gonna throw a curveball, as I always do. You love me. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna try the rye with the tomato bread, and then the bourbon with the sweet bread.
Okay.
So which way are we going to do it?
Let's start with the tomato bread first. I'm gonna eat a little bit of tomato bread on its own just to get the tomato bread flavor back to the forefront of my palate.
Wow, is that savory?
I made different doughs.
I mean, we're eating bread, people, but if I were to say that these are so different, it's hard to believe that I just grabbed two different breads. I mean, this is really, dare I say, astonishing. Laura, what do you think?
Interesting. I just took a bite of the bread, and then also the rye. The rye is all of a sudden a lot more savory, which is what I was expecting. But it's also got more of a briny hint to it, or more like a punchy anise or fennel, like what Dad said. It's more punchy.
Yeah, I'd agree the brininess is there. Suddenly the proof in the rye is kind of waving a little hand in our general direction. Hello.
It tickles the tongue more.
I'm a little bit warm, but I think that does come back to the food itself, the bread itself, the peppery element, the acidity of the tomato. You have the fennel. There's the sausage, which has a natural spice to it too. It is working to find its complement within the rye, which is really cool. It makes the rye taste completely different.
You're right. It's warming in the throat.
Yeah.
I really like it.
with the sweet bread, it was more balanced.
It tasted like a dessert wine almost with the sweet bread.
Very much so.
But now it tastes really hearty, warm. There's peppery notes here all of a sudden, which I'm adoring from this rye. I mean, I love this rye. I love this rye a lot, but I love
the pork
rye.
notes seem to be gone though.
Yeah, they vanished.
This drink's more like a straight rye.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Hannah, you mentioned something about proof. So now I have to ask the both of you, since both of you know a little bit more about proof in bourbon and whiskeys. How do you think proof would be affected, like if it were higher? Like what would the taste be if the proof was higher in the whiskey? Like we took,
Well, I don't think a higher proof would knock down the bread.
At least not the tomato bread.
The tomato bread is a pretty bold expression for bread.
It is.
I mean, it's straight in your face savory.
And we talked about the potential of having the tomato bread with Booker's, which is the higher proof edition of the Jim Beam line, can sometimes get right near the 130 proof mark. So I think the Booker's would still stand up to the tomato bread, and I think the tomato bread would stand right back up to the Booker's. No
But again,
problem.
that's a bourbon though.
Yeah.
This is not we're doing a rye comparison here, and I'm not sure how a high rye or a high proof rye would really work with this. I mean, it's already gotten hotter
Yeah.
just by
I mean,
doing what we've done.
we don't have here in Idaho too many barrel proof ryes that come out on the market. There's a few out there, but really for the most part, the ryes you're going to find in our stores are hovering at that 90 proof, 100 proof mark, which is what, right where Midwinter Night's Dram is sitting. There is Pikesville rye
At 110.
At 110 proof. That I do think would go really well with the tomato bread, only because the grain in the Pikesville is extremely pronounced, and I think it already has a bit of a tendency to lean into some anise/fennel flavors, and I think those would pair really nicely together. But it would be a little harder to get into the Pikesville, I think, just because those are its key moments. This here at least has the port barrel backing, which offers its own complexity
And a little sweetness.
and a little sweetness to what's going on.
Very
One thing
interesting.
we didn't talk about with the sweetbread, with the cinnamon twist, we're having this with the Midwinter Night's Dram. Obviously, in a minute, we're going to have it with the Knob Creek 12. But what other things could we have with that sweetbread that wouldn't be the Midwinter? I mean, obviously, we talk about it all the time. The Noble Oak, Double Oak Rye is kind of a bit of a dupe for the Midwinter. Readily available here in Idaho. A third of the price, like it's
Yeah.
like $40. That one would work really well.
I would
I
say
still, as other sweet ones go, I'm
thinking
I'm actually thinking I want to try it with Buffalo Trace or Old Forester.
I think Buffalo Trace products would go really well with the sweetbread.
Because
With the
if you think
sweetbread.
of like a cherry Danish, I mean,
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh man,
yeah.
yeah.
for sure.
Just maybe I'm tipping my hand a little bit too soon. I like the sweet bread with the rye better than the savory bread with the rye. The sausage bread is great bread, but the combination of the rye and the savory, I'm not sure that it's as good as the sweet bread and the rye. For me.
Okay. Hannah, what do you think about that?
I haven't. Let me make sure I'm understanding. I haven't had the bourbon with the sweetbread yet, but
I
would
haven't either.
But I would say that the rye's best moment is coming from the cinnamon twist. That pairing is really, really nice.
It strikes me as odd that the savory bread makes the rye bolder.
I don't find it strange at all. When we were Elora was talking to me when she was making these breads, and she was like, what do you think we could drink with these?
Yeah.
First thing that came to mind is savory bread has got to go with the bourbon, because bourbons are punchy. Bourbons have a natural sweetness to them, but they can have pepper, they can have wood, they can really be bold and in your face. Ryes are really fresh. Ryes are really subtle, but ryes have a underlying sweetness to them that's really unique from the sweetness that comes from bourbon.
I always think that ryes are also kind of spicy too.
They can be, but I think that's, to me, and this is my palate, to me that's a misclassification of rye. I don't ever look at rye and go spice. That being said, the higher rye bourbons that are out there, like your Jim Beams, like your Heaven Hills, all of a sudden you do taste a lot more spice in those profiles. So you're inclined to think that rye by nature has heat, spice to it. I don't think it does. I think rye, as it stands by itself, is a really fresh grain, is really bright. It can be peppery, but overall it's fresh, it's bright, it's a little earthy, and it's playful. That's how I always describe it. So for me, when we were talking about what we could possibly drink with these breads, having a rye with a dessert bread was a no-brainer to me. I just, those two kinds of things would pair really well together because it's playful. Ryes are playful. And when you're having a dessert, you should be in a playful sort of mindset.
Yeah.
So I stand by my pick on that one. That one worked real well.
And
I would say so too.
several weeks ago, you did make a rye-based bread.
I did, yeah.
And we had some rye with it. It was a perfect match. Rye on rye.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, and we don't have it tonight, but
We ate it all. It's gone.
we've become as big as houses. So I just took a sweetbread bite,
Yeah.
and I'm about
Okay.
ready to do a bourbon.
Okay, I have to recalibrate. I'm
So-
gonna have some of the twist.
I have to admit, I kind of cheated with this one. I
You've
did
already
that
done that?
before.
Okay,
I
well
have
then-
already
Well,
done
tell
that.
us.
Say your thoughts.
I was weirded out, honestly. I was weirded out because my brain hadn't exactly made the switch yet, and my taste buds hadn't made the switch. So when I was eating the cinnamon bread, I was like, wait a minute, something's up. Like, it wasn't bad, but it was just different. And then I took a drink of the Knob Creek, and I was not thrilled, honestly. I was thinking, like, this is kind of off. Maybe my taste buds haven't really switched yet. So took another piece of the sweet dough and then another drink of the Knob Creek. And I still don't really know what to think of it. It's kind of different, honestly.
Sweet on sweet.
Yeah, well, even it was the savoriness of the Knob Creek that was getting me. It was like the flavors were more clashing instead of marrying, if that makes sense.
For me, when I drink the Knob Creek with the sweet bread almost becomes subdued in its sweetness.
Oh.
I agree.
How is that possible? This is a high sweet bread. It's got sugars in it. I mean, that is just weird that the bourbon would do that.
But this is what I was talking about just a moment ago with the ryes being more fresh, more playful and bright. They're not going to get in the way of sweet. But bourbon has the dominant grain being corn here. And corn, despite being in many savory dishes, is a sugar.
True.
And
Carbohydrate.
I think it is. And I think that it really found a way to smother the cinnamon here. All of a sudden...
That is so weird.
All of a sudden there's like a wood... the oak is
It's
suddenly...
way woodier.
The oak is in your face. It's unavoidable. And when you're having bourbon, which again, corn-based, you're expecting maybe some fruit. We already talked earlier how the initial sips with the tomato bread were really peppery, and I'm expecting cinnamon still from the bread. All of that's gone.
I just took a bite of straight up cinnamon chunk of, and it's not there. You're right, it's gone.
Like they cancel each other out in a way. All you're left with is a bourbon heat, which, there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
But when you're having such a good bread, your point is to never smother it.
I think that this one might be too strong. And one thing that I'm trying, I took a huge bite of the sweet dough because, like you guys say, it's subdued by the Knob Creek. I took a huge bite of the dough, and, I was trying to think of candy pecans because those have, like, a nuttiness. Knob Creek has more of a nuttiness now, like, when I'm drinking it. And I don't know if it is pecans. I don't know if it's peanuts. It just tastes nutty.
You know what it does?
Yeah.
But that's a very Jim Beam quality.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. I don't mind it. It's just I was looking forward to the cinnamon being like that married sort
I
of
just
thing.
took a sip of the rye immediately after sipping the bourbon,
Oh, that's a good
after
experiment.
tasting the cinnamon, and the cinnamon just comes right back. How is it that the rye can do that even after having bourbon on the palate? That's just crazy.
That is pretty
just
crazy.
crazy. Wow, what an experiment.
It
Yeah.
is.
I'm very, very satisfied with it. I was waiting and planning out ways that I could potentially incorporate baking into this, and I'm happy that we ended up doing this because it was fun for me. Like I say, I find baking to be quite therapeutic. Bread especially. It's great for a college student. You can abuse the dough if you're having a rough day. But, you know, you get to enjoy the fruit of your labors and you get to share it with the people you care about. So, yeah.
Well, here's my verdict. Sweet bread, drink rye.
Yep.
Savory bread, drink bourbon.
I
So,
agree.
but here's-
at least with these types.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
at least with these.
Yeah.
Because Buffalo Trace, as we said, would be different.
Oh, for sure. But here's my next question though. We've already established that yes, the rye goes better with the sweet, the bourbon goes better with the savory. In your personal opinion, do you think which pairing is better? Do you think the rye which one are you which pairing are you the most impressed and in love with?
I really like the cinnamon and the rye, honestly. I think that I went into all of this thinking like, oh, well, the rye is going to be kind of the more savory thing. Because I think that rye is a bit spicy for me. Can be a bit grainier too. And bourbon, in my experience, at least the ones that I've had, yeah, they can be briny, they can be salty, but for the majority of the time, I'm listing brown sugars, I'm listing caramel, I'm listing white marshmallow, like I'm listing white chocolate, like marshmallow, like all of those sweet things. So I was thinking like the bourbon was going to be a sweet thing instead of the savory, and the rye bread was going to be the savory out of the sweet. I'm glad that I was wrong.
That is just crazy.
So what about you? Would you
If-
prefer the bourbon, the savory, or the sweet? Which one hit best for you, Dad?
So the 4 combinations. I would choose the bourbon and the savory bread first. That's my favorite.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. My second favorite would be the sweet bread with the rye.
Yeah. Yeah.
The third favorite would be the savory bread with the rye. And my least favorite would be the sweet bread with the bourbon.
I am honestly kind of similar, but I'd switch your first two for
Yeah,
my preference.
I would as well. I love this rye with the cinnamon twist. That's a phenomenal combination. That makes me so happy. First sip of the rye I had after having that cinnamon twist, my eyes nearly bugged out of my head. I was immediately in love. But I love the savory with that bourbon as well. And I think the rye does, pretty well with the savory. The Knob Creek 12 in this instance, I don't think it has, frankly, any business being near your sweet bread. But
No, it
on
doesn't.
its own, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a great bourbon. Both of these products, by the way, everybody, the Knob Creek 12, the Midwinter Night's Dram, on their own when we have them neat, they're both great products. We all three of us really love these products. Mm-hmm. If there was a way that we could always have them in our bunker, I think we would.
Yeah.
They're a little harder to come by, we know. Mm-hmm. But we do really love them. And obviously, we really love this bread. So, it's all about the pairing, though, which is...
It is.
It's been so interesting, this episode.
Yeah. The biggest takeaway of this entire episode is I encourage you all to try different foods with your bread. You don't have to stick with tomato bread or even tomato sauce following a whiskey, or you don't have to even stick with a cinnamon roll with whatever whiskey you're having. I encourage you to try different foods with different bourbons, whiskeys, all of those things. Because it is fun, and I think that you'll be able to figure out what your palate is, as well as what exactly the whiskey or the beverage that you are drinking with it has in store for flavors.
Well, that was fun. So, like we do every episode, we're going to jump into a fortnight in whiskey. This one is a story that has bounced around for a month and a half. Bourbon buyers beware. There's a new bill in Ohio that might require Ohio liquor stores to open high demand bottles when they're sold. I can't even imagine what it would be like to walking into my local store, fortunate or unfortunate, to be able to buy an allocated product, and they open it right there in front of me, and then seal it right back up.
Why would they do that?
Well, I'm going to answer that. Ohio State Senator Bill DeMora loves bourbon, especially those difficult to find high-end bottles. But DeMora is upset by the limited availability bottles that are snapped up and then illegally resold at high markups. DeMora claims the state liquor agency sends emails to its patrons announcing the limited bottle release dates and times. Senator DeMora believes the resellers are somehow getting tipped off before the email is sent, giving them the jump on everyone else. He says somebody knows somebody at one of those release stores, and they're letting their friends know, and then the resellers stand in line and get to the front of the line and then pick up those bottles. We've all suspected that kind of thing happening.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a market, right?
Yep.
And
it's that.
It's not something that's out of the question anywhere. No doubt it's happening all over the country.
But the thing is, I mean, I don't know about them, like, opening up the bottles. To me, that's kind of like preventing the way that you age your bottles. Because, I mean, it's like opening up a bottle of wine. Like, you don't want to open that bottle of wine when
what if I'm going to gift it to somebody?
Mm-hmm.
I gifted Hannah this Midwinter Night's Dram. I would be very upset if they'd opened the bottle.
I don't know why they would do that.
At any rate, DeMora introduced a bill requiring state-run liquor stores, and Ohio is a control state, to immediately open and then reseal the limited in-demand bottles. He did this in November, just a month and a half ago. DeMora believes the action would effectively curtail the secondary market, as few people would be willing to pay a reseller for an open bottle. Ohio's 2-year legislative session ended here just a couple weeks back, December 31st.
Last day of 2024.
Yep. And any bills that hadn't cleared both chambers die. Well, DeMora's bill didn't even reach its first hearing, which to me makes sense.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked that he even bothered.
It's a lot of hoops he would have had to jump.
Yeah, I'm surprised he even bothered. Wait for the new Congress.
Yeah. At any rate, he plans to reintroduce the resealing bill again in 2025, but add another mechanism to thwart resellers. This bill, the limited in-demand bottles would be stored in an electronic case at the state-run stores. DeMora wants to see a system that randomly sends an unlock code to the stores, which would then be able to start selling the bottles when the case is randomly opened.
I don't like that at all. That's
Yeah.
excessive, and I don't even want to begin to know how many taxpayer dollars would have to be funded into all of the liquor stores over there to get those kinds of safes, that kind of technology up and running. And then on top of that, if your customer is there and there's a product in the store that your customer wants to buy, you can't not sell to that customer. That's just as discriminatory as to say I'm randomly selling it.
Well, here just recently, I went in to get a bottle, and I knew the store had the bottle, and I questioned the store, and the first answer was, yes, we have the bottle, but it's reserved for a bar. I felt bad. I should be able to buy that bar. If the bar hasn't, or that bottle, if the bar hasn't come by and picked it up, if they haven't paid for it, it should be available for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hold policy, and stores differ in their hold policies.
Stores get precedent over here in Idaho. They get first pick. They do know what is coming into the stores before a lot of the other customers do. But they pay the same amount that everybody else does. Well, they have a little bit of a discount, but it's fairly negligible. And they're not selling. They're not turning around and selling the bottle. They're going and bringing it back to their restaurants.
And at the restaurants, they're selling a shot or an ounce and a half or whatever it is for whatever exorbitant price they're selling it for.
Ultimately, like, a business wants to make money. So if a bar wants to lay claim on something, they better go buy it, honestly, because at the end of the day, this is a bit of a capitalist society. Like, that liquor store needs to make money, and if the bar or the restaurant isn't going to basically have that or want to give that chance to buy that bourbon, whereas Dad, you would, like, why would you want to discriminate against, like, the customer, whoever they are, whether they're, like, the store, the customer, or just, you know.
What Idaho does, at least the stores that I frequent, aside from this one that I knew had the bottle, they do kind of a hunt and find or hide and seek method. They will place a bottle on the shelf at random intervals throughout the day.
Yeah.
So when you walk in, you may or may not be able to buy it. If it's on the shelf, it's available for sale.
Right.
If it's not on the shelf, it's not available for sale. And I'm kind of okay with that. But if they're advertising that it's in the store, it should be available for sale.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the allocated bottles are not advertised that they're in the store.
No.
In this case, this bottle was advertised as in the store.
A business shouldn't advertise what is not in the store either.
Yeah.
So it's like, advertise what you do have.
Right.
So at any rate, Demora likes his chances for this bipartisan support in the bill. And the reason why he likes it, he's a member of the unofficial Ohio Senate Bourbon Caucus. It's a group of 2 Democrats and 7 Republicans that after session they sit around and they drink bourbon. So we'll see what happens there. I fully believe this is going to go nowhere. I can't believe anybody would allow their bottle to be opened after they've paid for it.
Just compare it to wine.
Yeah.
Why would you want your wine bottle to be opened when you bought it, especially if it's a red? You want to save that thing.
Yep. So we're drinking out of Glencairn's tonight, and we've also got our Wex. We love our Wex. Everybody knows what a Glencairn is. You know, short, stubby neck, tulip-shaped thing. Everybody drinks out of it. Family-run glassware and decanter producer Glencairn is suing a California retailer over some trademark violations. Glencairn is based out of Lancashire, Scotland, and it's said that they are credited with the world's first official whiskey glass, introduced to the market in 2001. The glass has been endorsed by the Scotch Whisky Association. More than 40 million units are sold worldwide every year, Last year, it's believed 1.7 million were sold here in the U.S. I mean, that's a bunch of glasses.
And we do have an affiliate link for those if
Yes.
you're interested, going over to our website and clicking on that. We do earn a couple cents from
Yep.
from there. But if you wanted to know the exact glass that we're talking about and maybe wanted to add them to your own inventory, there is a link on our site for that.
Yep.
They're great glasses.
Yep.
I mean, we always use them whenever we're reviewing, so.
The crystal maker has now taken legal action against a California-based online retailer known as Wine and Gear. Allegedly, they have imitated Glencairn's whiskey glasses and are infringing on Glencairn's trademark. Glencairn says that Wine and Gear has been manufacturing and selling whiskey-related products bearing the Glencairn name, which is a trademark of the Scottish company that it has held in the United States for more than 20 years. They have accused Wine and Gear as falsely and misleadingly advertising their goods as genuine Glencairn products.
That's not good.
No. In the complaint filed in U.S. District Court for Eastern District of California on October 7th, Glencairn alleged that at least 4 products sold by Wine and Gear used the word Glencairn and employed images of the whiskey glass in their advertising. Glencairn's legal representatives of Melvin and Myers sent a cease and desist letter to the company in September demanding it promptly bring its unlawful activity to an end. On December 3rd, Glencairn filed for a permanent injunction against Wine and Gear, seeking to stop the manufacturing or selling of its unlawful products. The court filing states Wine and Gear is knowingly exploiting the commercial success of Glencairn and the global recognition of their trademarks to Wine and Gear's commercial advantage by advertising and selling the infringing products, and is using Glencairn's trademarks to sell those products. Wine and Gear's copying of the Glencairn trademarks is likely to deceive, confuse, and mislead customers. It further claims the Californian firm has knowingly and intentionally and willfully copied the Glencairn name. What they've done is they've had their representatives, Melvin and Myers, to ask the court to proceed to a jury trial and have the profits made by Wine and Gear's website and the company itself to go ahead and pay those profits to Glencairn.
Which, for a lot of people, that's going to sound excessive and, oh my gosh, Glencairn's such a big company, they're already making millions of dollars in profit.
Well, it's an act of plagiarism,
It's an act of plagiarism, plain and simple. And for anything that is trademarked, if a company figures out that another business, another entity is using their symbol, their terms, their name in a way that hasn't been approved, it's their duty to follow up in court about the trademark and get those remunerations back from the company that's doing the evil deed here.
Yep.
So this is just, if whatever Glencairn here is saying is legitimately true, and Wine and Gear has been using the Glencairn name to sell their products, this should be a pretty open shut case in California District Court to say, give over the money, knock it off.
Yep.
It's as open shut as it gets.
Now, to Wine and Gear's credit, their website has been updated and has removed the word Glencairn from all of its marketing materials.
Right, but they would still be able to go after the recent sales from September onwards until that point, if they'd been warned 4 or 5 months ago.
Yep.
To knock it off, and
At
they
least-
only did so now.
At least to get those profits at the very least, like, because you go to college, I mean, plagiarism can get you expelled.
Mm-hmm.
Like, right then and there. It can get you expelled. There's a reason why you're taught not to plagiarize when you're in high school.
Well, it's also a case that could go as far as having a review from the Federal Trades Commission, the FTC, in falsely advertising or not being honest about the product that you're selling and selling it under dubious means. The FTC does not like that, and this could extend even beyond Glencairn getting their remunerations. The FTC could take a look at wine and gear and have their own unique penalty for what wine and gear has been trying to do, if all of the alleged is true.
And that's frankly why we begin every one of our podcasts with a disclaimer that we do not earn money from things that we represent unless we specifically say,
like the Glencairn link
on our website, it
website.
says clearly on our page.
Yeah.
You know, we might make a few cents here.
Yeah, we want to be as transparent with you all. Everything we say is completely from the heart. We're not bullshitting, and if there is any instance where we do happen to make a coin or so, you're gonna know about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
By law, you have to.
we want to give credit where credit is due. We want to be as honest and genuine with you all as we possibly can, and we owe it to Glencairn to be where we are right now. We owe it to our
WftA,
bourbons, to
yeah.
WftA. I mean, to all of the bourbons that we have. I mean, I don't know who did the color wheel, but yeah, we owe it to them.
Yeah,
To Dad.
exactly.
Yeah.
Dad did that.
Okay, cool. And music too.
Yeah. So my last story here for the news here, at any rate, is 5 ways to deep clean your decanter after Christmas. Now, it's more than just decanters after Christmas. It's funny. Yesterday, I was speaking with somebody who showed me that they listened to our podcast.
Hello, listener.
Hello.
He pulled it up and showed me on his phone that this is what I'm listening to right now. And then I asked him.
Which is so cool. Thank you so much.
I asked him, what would you like to see? And he says, you guys need to do an episode on decanters. I had just edited this story. I couldn't believe that the timing here, but
Now, don't worry. We still hear you. Something will happen in the future. Just trust in the process.
yeah. So drinks brands release their greatest creations in eye-catching decanters. You know, some of these vessels have an array of structural twists and turns, and it's done to attract the luxury spenders. For example, 2023, the Macallan bottled 2 of its whiskey expressions in one dual-chambered circular decanter. So I had to look this up. The outer chamber held a 1940 vintage whiskey. The inner chamber, completely separate from it with a separate lid, came from 2018, and it was encased in an inner chamber. A circle inside of a circle, if you will.
Like a Russian doll.
Yeah. The Dalmore chose to house its single malt inside of an 80-kilogram glass sculpture.
That's quite large.
Exactly.
That's very large.
It was made from one continuous piece of glass. It underwent 500 hours of hand polishing, and only 3 of those bottles were made.
It's a lot of glass.
Yeah. And then U.S. distiller Heaven Hill releases each Old Fitzgerald in a crystal-like decanter with crystal stoppers.
They are really beautiful bottles. We have had an Old Fitz before, and they are very beautiful bottles.
This one I've never seen other than pictures. Eagle Rare, Double Eagle Very Rare, has a cut crystal displayed flying eagle on top. And even Blanton's, humble little Blanton's. They sport horses and riders in 8 different race running positions.
Which is very clever. I will say that. Like, that's very clever.
The intricacies turn decanters into true works of art and craftsmanship, and they also make them a devil to clean. So, we've got some tips on how to go about removing stains from the trickiest nooks and crannies of your decanters. For all of you who got decanters for Christmas, try this one. How about denture cleaning tablets?
I will attest. Those things are amazing. I got braces and I use them to clean my retainers. They work like an absolute charm. I will say that because it removes the calcium deposits. So
They get into all the fizzes get into everything.
it's made of baking soda, so
Yeah.
that makes sense. Baking soda is a common ingredient in any sort of cleaning product.
So
It's true.
use your decanter, put some warm water in it, pop in a tablet, and let it dissolve. And then baking soda and warm vinegar.
What did I just say?
So you can clean your decanters with baking soda and warm vinegar. Similar, just drop in some baking soda and then put in some warm water and some undiluted white vinegar. It starts to fizz. I would just tell you, make sure you rinse it out thoroughly when you're done.
Yeah, and
Yes.
also be a little bit careful when you concoct that.
Don't put a
because-
lid on it.
Yeah, don't put a lid on it, and make sure you're not already close to the rim of your decanter, because those two things, acid plus base, they have quite the reaction, and
Yep.
it grows.
Yeah.
It's like putting.
It's a bit of a volcano if you've got too much of any one thing.
I mean, just look, watch your YouTube experiments on, soda bottles.
Yeah.
And people, exploding them. That's essentially what it is.
So you can also substitute that baking soda with some coarse kosher salt. So pop some salt in, drop some vinegar in, agitate a little bit, let it sit for a bit, and then rinse that out as well. And then if you don't have any of that, maybe some white rice. The rice can work wonders in removing stains.
And cleaning out phones that have been soaked.
Yep. Oh, we've all done that. We've put
Oh,
our
yeah.
phones in a bowl of rice
Yep.
for a couple of days. It's amazing that the rice just sucks out the moisture. And then you can also do that with crushed eggshells. But of course, all of this thorough rinsing and drying is absolutely key here. Make sure you get the residue out.
Yep.
Yep.
You don't want to be tasting, vinegar in your
Definitely
$1,200
not.
bottle.
Yeah.
Definitely not, yeah. Honestly, all of these things are such common ingredients in cleaning supplies. Really. I wager you can even add, okay. As many of y'all know, I'm a clarinetist. So, my mouthpiece gets dirty all the time. Well, one thing that I do is I take a half cup of water that's warm, and I'll put in some lemon juice in there as well. The acid breaks all of that calcium deposit up, and it cleans the mouthpiece like a charm. So I'd wager lemon juice would also probably be pretty good in this. The only thing is, never, ever, 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 ever leave something in lemon juice longer than 5 minutes. And that is because it will turn your things green. Someone did that in my undergrad and it was hilarious. We laughed at her. But it's okay.
And that's with metal, though.
That's with metal. Well, for us it was our rubber mouthpieces. But still, if you hear of a story like that, believe that the tales are true. So.
Okay, so I got a couple bottles for you to be scavenger hunting for. First one is Town Branch announces its oldest ever bottled in bond expression. Town Branch has announced the launching of their Archive series. The Archive series will be a multi-year collection featuring some of the oldest American single malt whiskeys in the world.
The oldest?
Yep. Now, keep in mind that American Single Malt just got its official designation by the TTB, and Town Branch has been doing this for quite a while. The collection is distilled, aged, and bottled in Kentucky under bond by the Town Branch Distillery. Town Branch Distillery is the primary distilling operation of Lexington Brewing and Distilling Company located in Lexington, Kentucky. It's the only combined brewery and distillery on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. This first release is a 15-year-old bottled in bond Kentucky single malt.
They are coming out swinging.
They are.
Good
Yeah.
for them.
The Archive Series Volume 1 is the oldest bottled in bond American single malt ever made. It's available at the distillery itself and in a few selected states across the U.S. Beginning 2024, which we just got out of, and lasting until 2030, so the next 6 years, each yearly release will pay tribute to the Lyons family history of cooperage, distillation, and brewing. The collector's coin will be given away at the same time for everybody who buys one of these bottles. These tokens will provide a lifetime of limitless free distillery excursions. All you got to do, you got to buy a bottle, then simply present that collector's coin upon arrival, and you don't even have to book it. You just get to go tour their facility.
Wow, that's
I'm
fancy.
down.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Owner and 7th generation distiller Mark Lyons said, "When you select our special single malt whiskey release, you become part of our family, and we want you to be part of the family's traditions as well." The 15-year bottle and bond Kentucky Vital Stats. It's a single barrel bottle and bond American single malt, so a single barrel, distilled in a single season by a single distiller, bottle and bond rules. Mash bill is 100% malted barley. The barrel that they're getting this one from was filled on July 2nd, 2009. And it was picked by Town Branch Distillery's creator, Dr. Pierce Lyons, to coincide with their 15th birthday. ABV, of course, 50%, bottled and bond, 100 proof, non-chill filtered, very steep price, $3.99 for the 750 milliliter bottle, as there were only 108 bottles available from this barrel, which would make sense. It's all evaporated out. My second one to look for is Penelope. We have not had any Penelope.
But we
have a bottle.
Penelope.
We have a bottle of Penelope, and I think it's time that we start thinking about some of these other bottles. But Penelope releases Havana, a rum barrel finished whiskey. Penelope Bourbon has released a maple syrup and rum finished whiskey.
What?
Yep, maple syrup and rum finished.
I want it.
The Penelope team has capitalized on the popularity of Maple with Havana, Havana being the name of their release. They have employed a double cask finish, distinctive maple syrup cask finish, and a Caribbean rum finish. So the way they've done this is they have aged their Penelope bourbon, their 4-grain bourbon, in their barrels. They have then given the barrels, or sold the barrels, or somehow got the barrels to a company that does maple syrup.
Yeah.
Aged the maple syrup in the whiskey barrels, poured out the aged maple syrup, and then got those barrels back, and then reintroduced their bourbon back into those barrels for a month. And then after a month, they're putting them in the rum casks for another 12 months.
That makes me very, very happy. Like, I want it. I want that.
It creates a base of molasses with some tropical sweetness, and I'm sure that's going to completely change the profile of the whiskey itself. Penelope Bourbon founder, master blender Danny Palouse said, "This is much more than a rum-finished bourbon. It's a standout in our collection of cask-finished bourbons. Maple finishing is a perfect complement to the initial rum-finished bourbon by further elevating the blend." Penelope Bourbon founder and VP of Strategy for MGP, Michael Paladin, said, "We've been working on Havana for quite a long time. Havana's double finish delivers rich flavor and complexity we think our fans will love." Penelope's Havana Vital Stats. Penelope's famous 4-grain straight bourbon whiskey is distilled at MPG's historic Lawrenceburg, Indiana distillery. The mash bill is 74% corn, 7% rye, 16% wheat, and 3% malt barley. It's aged for 4 years, then 1 month in the maple syrup barrels and another 12 months in the Caribbean rum casks. Put out at 93 proof. Availability, it is a special edition. There were 27,000 bottles released at a pretty fair price, I think, of $79.99.
That sounds considerably fair compared to the other one.
Yep. Penelope's distiller notes. It's a 4-grain whiskey. Molasses, banana bread, and rich maple. Palate, robust caramel corn, charred oak, and candied pecans with a lingering vanilla finish. So, that's our news. That's our scavenger hunt. Elora, what a great episode. I've said it before. I'll say it again.
I'm already excited for the next one you do. Like,
Oh,
whether,
really?
like,
It was playing so weird.
like whether it'll be more bread and different types of bread, or whether it'll be a whole other form of baking, or if it, we'll pull up with a steak and pork chop. I don't know. I'm just excited. This is a fun new type of episode, and like Elora mentioned, I think it's something that everybody should try. And if there's a combination out there that you all are obsessed with,
Oh, please let us know. I will try to make it.
yeah,
We gotta try it.
Elora.
Challenge me. I love new recipes. Seriously. Challenge me.
I gotta say, I'm pretty fortunate. Both the girls can cook. And both
Well,
the
we
girls
get it
can,
from you. That's why.
both the girls can cook well, and we eat well. Make no mistake about it. One of the things about bourbon, which makes it so much fun, there's so many flavors in it. Mm-hmm. And if you can't taste flavors, I get it. I'm a guy, my taste buds are not as good as the girls. But I've trained my palate. I've eaten lots of different kinds of food. So I can pick out those nuances. The Laffy Taffy vanilla. I mean, that's just a weird one. Or the girls have probably never had circus peanuts.
I have.
Those terrible,
Yeah.
those
The
terrible,
gummy one?
not green,
They're
but
orange.
Oh,
They're
they're
just weird.
weird.
Yeah, and occasionally I get those flavors. It comes from tasting things. You smell field corn, dry field corn, or you smell maraschino cherries. I mean, everybody can taste a maraschino cherry in a bourbon, and it's pretty common.
Buffalo Trace especially.
But it just expose your palate to different things. You'll be amazed at what you can actually taste. What a great episode, Laura. This one, do it again.
Okay.
Do it
I
again. I'm going to go in for some bread while you guys wrap this up.
And this was your
Fair
first
enough.
episode
Yeah.
ever, too. So, Laura, I want to ask, outside of the accomplishment of these breads, how do you feel about running your first episode?
Feel
It's
good.
about time. Season 4, finally in the
Oh.
director's seat.
Yeah,
How you
It
feel?
feels good. It feels good. I was telling my best friend today, I met with her for a few hours, and I was saying, yeah, I'm leading this episode, and it's going to be my first time, and I kind of was relaying the fact that my dad tends to have a lot of bullets in his presentation. He has, pages of notes, and then Hannah has bullet points, but it's very loose. And I flat out said, I'm not going in with anything written down. I don't want to write things down. I know what I know, and honestly, I was more excited than nervous. That's kind of a thing that I'm like whenever I do any kind of performances as well. I'm more excited than nervous. Your brain reacts the same way when you're performing as it would, when you're going to get on a roller coaster. There's that same kind of adrenaline. There wasn't much adrenaline in this, but it was just sharing what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
Baking. I love baking.
Yeah.
And I do like just having conversations. These podcasts are really fun.
You already thinking about next season and what you're going to do for food next season?
I have no idea about the food, but I'm definitely thinking about next season.
Very
So-
fun. Very fun.
It doesn't have to be food.
And we're only on episode 2, y'all. This season's going to be a whole lot of fun. This was just the start of whole new journey here. We still have a lot of reviews coming for you guys. We're still going to do our distillery and whiskey spotlights like we've done in previous season.
Still going to do a history episode.
And we're still going to continue on with some tips. We started that, I believe, just last season, and that was a lot of fun to do. Going to have some guests on. We'll see how that goes. And again, we're still playing around and having new things happen, so keep your eyes peeled because more things are coming, everyone.
And sweet bread and rye, everybody. Sweet bread and rye.
Go get some. Just go to your bakery or go to your local Albertsons, Aldi's, wherever you shop, okay? Kroger, I don't know. Go find some cinnamon rolls.
Or even the Hawaiian bread.
Yeah, the Hawaiian bread. Grab some Pillsbury Crescent rolls. Again, no sponsor. Make those up. Buy yourself a rye. Sit down and you tell us what you think. Is it a winner? Which rye did you pick? We want to know.
And it doesn't even have to be bakery. Just, choose really anything. We love cheese.
Cocoa Puffs. I don't know.
I don't know.
Just tell us. We want to be, validated that rye with sweet things I want to be validated that rye with sweet things.
Hey, it works.
It does.
It works.
So happy with this pairing.
You could have it with fudge. You could have it with cheese. Like, we're very, very fond of cheese. Maybe that'll be the next one. I don't know.
Oh, that could be fun. Anyway, so.
Well, as Elora usually says, but she's leading tonight, so I get to say, we end our episodes like we bring our Glencairns. So here's to another episode. Please join us for our next. And everybody, cheers.
Cheers.